The Sunday School lesson for November 26, 2023 is Judgment and Exile. 2nd Chronicles chapter 36 verses 15 through 21 and Psalm 137 verses 1 through 6. Welcome and welcome back to my channel. This is the agenda, the backstory, the lesson, and the lesson summary. Let's begin. The backstory takes us to the time when Zedekiah was king of Judah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 11 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord his God, and did not humble himself before Jeremiah the prophet, who spoke the word of the Lord. He also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him take an oath in God's name. He became stiff-necked and hardened his heart, and would not turn to the Lord, the God of Israel. Furthermore, all the leaders of the priests and the people became more and more unfaithful, following all the detestable practices of the nations and defiling the temple of the Lord, which he had consecrated in Jerusalem. Verses 15 through 16. And the Lord God of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of God, and despised his words, and misused his prophets, until the wrath of the Lord arose against his people, till there was no remedy. Verses 17 through 18. Therefore he brought upon them the king of the Chaldees, who slew their young men with the sword into the house of their sanctuary, and had no compassion upon young man or maiden, old man or him that stooped for age. He gave them all into his hand. And all the vessels of the house of God, great and small, and the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king, and of his princes, all these he brought to Babylon. Verses 19 through 20. And they burnt the house of God, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem, and burnt all the palaces thereof with fire, and destroyed all the goodly vessels thereof. And them that had escaped from the sword carried he away to Babylon, where they were servants to him and his sons, until the reign of the kingdom of Persia. Verse 21. To fulfill the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoyed her Sabbaths. For as long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath, to fulfill 70 years. Psalm 137, verses 1 through 3. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, yea, we wept, when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. Verses 4 through 6. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. The first summary is over 2nd Chronicles chapter 36, verses 15 through 21. In pity, God sent Jeremiah and other messengers, prophets, early and often to protest the wrongs done in the temple and to remind the people to worship the only true God. Instead, the people mocked, despised, and scoffed at them. They tortured Jeremiah with imprisonment and starvation. Jeremiah chapter 37, verse 16, and chapter 38, verse 6. The refusal of Zedekiah to pay further tribute to Nebuchadnezzar was the final straw for Babylon. Then Zedekiah and his people took refuge behind the strong wall of Jerusalem, but to no avail. When Nebuchadnezzar's army came to collect, they blocked the delivery of food and supplies to the city for a year and a half. Finally, in 586 BC, the Babylonians broke through the wall to take the starving city. 2 Kings chapter 25, verses 1 through 3. The Lord gave all the people of Judah into Nebuchadnezzar's power, so that when his troops broke into Jerusalem, they slaughtered the young and the elderly without mercy. The invaders also looted the temple, the king's palace, and official houses, taking any remaining gold and bronze articles and all money. To ensure that Jerusalem could not rebel again, the army tore down the massive stone city wall. They set fire to God's temple and burned all the palaces. Some survivors remained in desolate Judah, but thousands taken captive walked under guard to Babylon. The destruction of Jerusalem and the captivity fulfilled the prophecy of Jeremiah, Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 11, and God's law that during 1 year of every 7, the land should observe a Sabbath to the Lord, Leviticus chapter 25, verses 1 through 5. Greedy landowners had broken the law for decades, planting and reaping in the 7th year as in the other 6. Now, with the farmers taken away, every year would be a Sabbath for the land for 70 years until Cyrus, king of Persia, ended their captivity. Now for a summary of Psalm 137, verses 1 through 6. Like Psalms 25, 59, 69, 83, and 109, Psalm 137 is a type of lament that expresses a desire for God's judgment on enemies. Psalm 137 was written as God's people were enduring captivity. Jerusalem had been attacked by the Babylonians. Many people were killed. The city ransacked, the temple destroyed, and the survivors taken to Babylon as prisoners. The psalm describes the bitter memories of the captives in pagan Babylon as they remembered the sacred site of Zion. Their emotions ran high, and they wept as they recalled happier times. Their despair in captivity was multiplied by the way their brutal captives made light of their sorrow. Sing us one of the songs of Zion, they mocked in verse 3. In verse 1, the memory of Zion had brought tears to the captives, but that memory was also the source of hope for them in verses 5 through 6. The writer expressed his fierce loyalty to Jerusalem in an oath, pronouncing a kind of curse on his right hand and on his tongue if he were to forget Jerusalem, likely referring to the ability to sing and play musical instruments such as harps. The writer was basically saying, "May I lose the ability to play music and sing if I neglect my devotion to the city of God." Thank you so much for watching. If this video has been of any value or benefit to you, please subscribe to this channel and share my channel with others. Thank you so much in advance for your support.